Hi, and welcome to Main Street AI, the podcast where traditional businesses are quietly revolutionizing their operations with artificial intelligence and winning. In this podcast, I sit down with industry leaders from law firms and professional services and other Main Street businesses to explore their AI journey. We dive into the opportunities they see, the challenges they're navigating, and the real impact of AI on their industries. Whether you're AI curious or ready to implement, this show brings you insights from leaders who are actually using this technology to serve customers better, empower employees, and drive profitable growth. Barbara Steinberg is a technology industry OG. She started as a programmer, moved into financial services, built an elder care business that led her into Medicaid applications, and then spent years watching employees manually transcribe bank statements into Excel spreadsheets, convinced there had to be a better way. That conviction eventually became eFraud Services and its AI-powered app, eFraud Investigator, which can now take any bank statement in any format and convert it to analyzable data in minutes with near 100% accuracy. In this episode, Barbara talks about building a deeply specialized AI product from scratch, why generalization is the enemy of accuracy in her field, and how a conversation at a birthday party changed everything. Let's dive in. Hi, and welcome back to the Main Street AI podcast. This is Steven with Satori Coach IO, and today I'm joined by Barbara Steinberg of eFraud Services. Barbara, thanks for joining.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me, Steven.
Great. So this is a little bit different of an interview. We have spoken mostly to attorneys on the podcast so far, and now we're kind of expanding out a little bit into the broader domain of professional services. So you have a really interesting business. Could you tell us a little bit about what you do from a high level?
Sure. We have, I'll call it an app, eFraud Investigator, and it is used to extract data from bank statements in a nutshell and prepare it, make it available for analysis. Our market is, as eFraud indicates, is financial fraud detection. I've been in this arena for over 10 years, and I've watched the software that does this, progress along or not progress along. And the key things here are accuracy. The people that are using this, the fraud investigators, the attorneys, everybody else, they go to court and they have to testify the data is 100% accurate. And over the years, it just hasn't been there with without a lot of manual intervention and fixing and things like that. So we now have a tool that in a matter of minutes can take any bank statement in any format, and God knows there's thousands and thousands of different formats of bank statements in the US and elsewhere, and convert it into a format and help analyze it in a matter of minutes with near 100% accuracy. And if it's not 100% accuracy, the correction is built right in.
Great. Can you talk a little bit about who are your different end users, like your customers for this particular technology?
Sure. Very, very broad field. Every level of government, from the FBI to the IRS, all the federal agencies, the DOD, down to the state levels, the Attorney General's offices. There's just layers and layers in all these offices of people who are looking at bank statements for one reason or another. One of my customers was a county guardianship office, and they have to, people that are appointed guardians, by the state, a lot of them take advantage of the people that they're managing. And so there's a lot of fraud. So they go through their bank statements, they're constantly investigating. Then we get down to the local sheriffs, the police departments, any level of government, from local to state to federal. Then we have attorneys, obviously, white collar attorneys, divorce attorneys, bankruptcy attorneys, anybody that has a need to go through a lot of bank statements. And then it's not just limited to government or accountant. Obviously, forensic accountants is a big part of our market. Large and small, we have individual practitioners up to major companies. And then on the business side, there's plenty of fraud going on there. I once had a small customer, they owned a supermarket, two guys, and he said, I think my partner is embezzling from me. And he hired a forensic accountant, and they hired me to go through the American Express statements to see, because he was using it for his personal, needs. So any type of business that needs to, investigate that, there's a lot of embezzlement that goes on and things like that. And I'll go into the challenges later. I'll kind of keep it there for now.
Gotcha. Okay. Um, yeah, really interesting. And actually, let me ask you this first, because as you're describing this, I was thinking, and you can correct me where I'm getting this wrong, but I'm wondering for like this is a technology you're specifically framing around fraud detection, but the ability to convert any bank statements into a spreadsheet, would that not also have potential broader applications for something like a small business owner that wanted to be able to just, without having to manually go through and itemize all their potential deductions and categorizations of expenses? Could it do
Yes,
something
yes.
like that too? Oh, okay.
Yeah, absolutely. We also have another function that came out as a request from a customer. They said, can you analyze brokerage statements? And we said, yeah, we do it like credit card statements or bank statements. We extract the cash transactions. And they said, no, 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 we have this 97-page brokerage statement and we want it all in Excel so we can analyze the whole thing. So we now have a PDF to Excel function that will pull tables out of any financial documents, whether it's a general ledger, payroll, or whatever, and fraud investigators use those as well. And it puts it into an Excel workbook. Each workbook has worksheets. Each worksheet represents a table in a standard format for analysis. And the interesting part, I'll go into a little of the background here too, is the PDFs, we don't know what's in it. Everybody uploads a PDF. So until it gets to the AI to read it, we have no idea what the columns are. And the tables have different formats in it. That particular bank statement had about 20 different tables in it, different formats and stuff. And that also brings us back to the bank statements. Most of these investigations, they're going back, the crime was committed a couple of years ago, and then they go back 5 years looking at bank statements. And some of these cases could have 40, 50 bank accounts because everybody's moving money all over the place. And none of that is online. So you can't go to your bank and download that. So what's happening is these are they're scanning in pages into PDFs. So when you scan a page into a PDF, it's not data, it's an image. So that's been the challenge. And these formats are crazy. There's still 4,000 banks in this country, and everyone has a different format. A few years ago, there used to be 10,000, and all the mergers and the acquisitions and things like that. So everyone is different, and that was why bank statements are particularly challenging. And so to be able to look at any statement, and again, we don't know what's in it. They upload the statements, could be months, could be years, could be multiple banks, and the AI is able to extract the data and extract it accurately. I mean, I'd say near 100% accuracy.
That's really, really interesting. Yeah, and I wanted to ask that, potential broader applications for business owners, just because I've actually hunted for solutions that could accurately do that, and they came up wanting. So, yeah.
And it's one giant divorce case. A husband and wife, they're in Arizona, they're in Wyoming, they had business accounts, they had personal accounts. It was huge.
Yeah, very, very interesting. And then last thing, just on this part of the conversation, I saw that you're really a serial entrepreneur. You've had, I think this is your 5th business. How did you get into this particular field?
Yeah, that's interesting. I've had a very long and winding career. I've been in technology or computer industry, I'll say, because I go back before it was called technology, a long time. Started as a programmer, got into consulting, got into sales, had a business there. In 1990, I decided there's nothing interesting happening in the computer industry, so I decided to go into financial services, became a CFP, did business there. In the early 2000s, I had a business in New Jersey before I moved to Florida, which was about 12 years ago, Elder Care Financial Solutions. And I won't tell you how I got into it, but I started out helping elderly veterans and widows of veterans get eligible for benefits from the government to help pay for their long-term care, assisted living, nursing home care. And it was for veterans who had served during wartime. They didn't have to be injured or anything else. They just had to be in the military during wartime. So that became very large. And my customers came back to me and said, okay, you helped us with the veterans benefit. Now we're out of money. Can you help us with Medicaid? So we started doing Medicaid applications, and Medicaid has a 5-year look back. So any bank accounts that you've opened and closed in 5 years, they want to look at, and we would prepare the application so that we'd be ready for, to present it to the caseworker, because what they're looking for is, did you give away money, to your children or whatever in those 5 years, and now you're going to ask the government to pay for your nursing home. So I looked for a tool that could do it, because I was watching employees transcribe manually from paper statements and copy into Excel spreadsheets. And I found a company actually in Scotland. And when I moved to Florida, I became their US reseller. So that's how I got involved with all levels of governments and things like that. 5, 6 years ago, it became apparent. It was good in that you could do any bank statement, but there's a big manual component to it. And it became harder and harder to sell. You had to draw boxes around every table, credits, debits, whatever, and all the tables had to have the same number of columns. So it was much better than doing it manually, but big savings, but it got kind of old. So that's when I started on this journey. I said, AI. I don't know anything about AI, but AI must be able to do what I'm doing manually. Like I said, that was like 5, 6 years ago. So we talked to a lot of developers, and they said machine learning. We can do what you need to do with machine learning. We're absolutely sure. We went through multiple developers, and it never worked. It never got the accuracy, near the accuracy that we need for this application without a lot of human intervention. So fast forward November 2024, I was at a birthday party, and her son, who was in AI, said, it's never going to work. He said, what you need is Gen AI. He said, 2 weeks ago, you couldn't do this, but now you can do it. So that became the journey. I became the prompt engineer. I am the foremost expert in bank statement formats probably in the world, which is why, I could do this. And so I was able to use the AI to actually, extract the data from any format to figure out how to do that. And we still had hiccups. The reason is the technology, not so much the AI technology, but the technology around it. I will say, having done large systems and things like that, I'm very disappointed in the developers, most of the developers that I see out there today. They don't care about the business problem. Everybody has their own little silo, and they don't put together something that works. So last June, it wasn't working. We had some problems. We had some customers put in some large files. We had one guy had 300 plus transactions and statements. And so I jumped into it. Now, not having programmed in a lot of years and not knowing, current languages or anything, I use AI. So for the last 6 months or 8 months, I have been using AI to fix the software, to rewrite a lot of the software. And I've seen the, progression of the AI from what it did, a year ago and what it can do today. And every day it's changing.
Right.
So I have a lot of experience with AI. I use it for everything in my life.
Yeah, so that actually anticipates where I was going to go next. So well, clearly your product is AI, and you just talked about that. How else are you using it in the business?
I use it for marketing, all of our messaging now and stuff like that. I say, hey, this is what we're all about. It gives me programs, who to target, emails to send them, what to say, how to say it. I have white papers. I've got so much stuff now. I actually had AI redo our pitch deck. And redoing, I uploaded. It's fantastic. It's just amazing. Like every part of my business now, I would say I'm using AI one way or another. And every personal question I have, how do you do this? How do you do that? I just ask AI.
Excellent. Actually, you mentioned using it for marketing. What does acquisition look like for you for your business? How are you mostly getting your customers?
Interesting. Number one, we've been in this a long time. We know a lot of people. One of the big organizations in our industry is the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners that has 94,000 plus members. We've exhibited at their conferences and stuff like that. So we have a lot of contacts there. And what would happen is we'd go there, we'd have demos, and we'd have the FBI and the DOD and the IRS would line up, and they'd love our stuff. And we'd come back and say, okay, put it in production. And it never worked in production. But meanwhile, all these people are still using 25-year-old software. So there's a giant opportunity there. So we know lots of people. We have contacts with lots of people. A lot of our people are on LinkedIn.
Mhm.
That's most, I have a huge, network of forensic accountants and attorneys and things like that. We're starting to do some posting, on LinkedIn on a regular basis now. I'm a heavy user of Sales Navigator. I find that, a great tool for connecting with people. So it's just getting the word out there, talking to people. We know who our targets are, who our market is, and just letting them know that we're up and running, and this is available. And it's a SaaS product. It's a self-service, so people can just go to our website and sign on, and away they go.
Great. What do you see for where this is going right now? Clearly, you're innovating in your niche, but what do you think things are going to look like for this business in, say, 5 years from now? Where do you think it's trending?
Uh, there's such a large market out there that I think, I don't think anything's going to change in terms of, what the needs are going to be. Obviously, waste, fraud, and abuse. This is a big topic now, and that's only growing and growing. So the answer is, I don't know what the future holds, but like, our PDF to Excel, where we can take any financial document, extract that. I'm sure there'll be, other needs and requests that come along that will just be adding to it.
Mhm.
The other thing that happens too is a lot of these customers and agencies, they have custom forms for their agency. So we're able to take those, put them into Excel also, for them to analyze. So that's where I see the growth. The other thing is, it's not, even though the U.S. bank statements are crazy and the European ones are a little more standardized, it's a global problem. I've had conversations with the head of fraud control of the Bank of Dubai, people in Singapore, people in India. So, there'll be an international, rollout as well.
Really interesting. What would you say that, as I get into your business a little bit more, what would you say that you do extraordinarily well that separates you from others that might be, competitors in your space?
Yeah, this whole thing about bank statements is very interesting. Like I said, I've been at it for a while. And 5 years ago, 6 years ago, we would say on our website, we convert bank statements to Excel, and a million people can. Now there's probably 1,000 people out there that say we convert bank statements to Excel. And guess what? It doesn't work. I've tried, a million of them, most of them, they're just these people. It's just, not accurate. They can't do it. Maybe they can do some formats, not other formats and stuff. So we are the only one that as far as I know, I don't know anybody else that's doing Gen AI, and there might be people out there, who are, but I'm not aware of them. And like I said, that was the only way we could get it to work with the accuracy.
Mhm.
The other thing is my knowledge of, the bank statements, the formats and things like that. The whole design of the system was built to, be able to extract data from bank statements. So our whole architecture and infrastructure is built around that. Whereas most people out there, they're looking at the PDF page and they're trying to extract data from the PDF page. We're looking at the data as a bank statement, and structuring it like in our database and everything else, so that it makes sense for that. So yeah, we've worked with a lot of companies, who are literally in the business, and sometimes would be accurate. We had one statement we put up, it was 77% it was errors. And this is a company that does it for a living.
Yeah.
And people try to generalize, that's the problem. We have something that's nichey, but it's unique, but it works for that specific niche. So I think, that's a big difference. We're not trying to be generalists on it.
Right. Yeah, that specificity is important. As I mentioned, I can attest to what you're saying because I've tried only a couple, but they were not able to handle the format of the bank statements I was using, and yeah, that I basically just had to
Yeah.
scrap that and go back to manual. So this is very interesting for me as well.
Well,
Uh,
one of the comparisons I like to draw, when we're talking about machine learning, if I have invoices, I can give the computer 200 invoices and it says on 201, yeah, I know that's an invoice. Here are the keywords, no problem. I give it 200 bank statements on 201. I don't have a clue. I never saw that before.
yeah.
It's just such a variation, in the formats.
Yes, absolutely. Makes sense. Um, In terms of growth, I'll kind of pivot over to that. What
Mhm.
stage would you say that you're in right now, and where are you looking to get to in the next 12 months or so?
Yeah, we're just, we're kind of in the go-to-market stage right now because of the technical challenge, that we had. But, we're good, we're live, we're working, and we're looking, we plan to grow pretty rapidly over the next year. Like I'm looking at, over $1 million revenue in the next 12 months.
Mhm.
And then the potential is for $100 million company, like 7, 8 years. Yeah, it's huge amount, huge potential.
That's fantastic. Um, if you could wave a magic wand, I ask everybody this question, and fix one thing, a challenge, a constraint in the business right now to facilitate that growth, what would you say it would be?
Our challenge is always funding, financing.
Mm. Yeah.
That, that's where we're at now. And it's interesting because, it's not a huge challenge. We can keep going. It will just accelerate, how fast we can get out there. And it's not a labor intensive business, so we don't have to hire a lot of people, marketing, like I said, we know pretty much where we're going. I'd say the technology that's, a big part for us, to get that, built out, scalability and, we're scalable now, but we need a ways to go to get, FedRAMP certified for government and things like that. ISO certification, that's what we're working on right now.
Excellent. And so that's again, that's a really interesting business niche that you've got. And yeah, I appreciate you talking about it. I think, like I said, there's so many applications. It makes perfect sense to me that you have really zeroed in on a specific application for this technology. But I think the clearly the market can grow, as you beyond just the initial application here based on what you have. I think it's fantastic. Where I
Yeah,
always
what happened was when I had the other software and it like became hard to sell, I had kind of a service bureau. People would hire me to actually do the conversions for them.
Mhm.
So I have, years of hands-on experience with some high profile cases and stuff like that. So now that's how, I know what the pain points are and, based on my customers and stuff like that, all this was kind of designed to meet the needs of, customers.
Absolutely, yeah. Naval Ravikant, productize yourself. Perfect. Where I always like to wind things up here is moving from business and tech to the personal. What would you say is your big motivating get out of bed in the morning factor for what you do that doesn't have to do with just revenue and growth and
Yeah,
things like
yeah. Personally, I like challenges. I don't know about, God, a long time ago, probably about 35 years ago now. I did a jigsaw puzzle, and it was about 5,000 pieces, and it was a caricature of New York with the skyline and the subways and all kinds of stuff. I like solving problems. I like helping people solve their problems. Like I've been out of the elder care business now for God knows how long. I still get calls from people. Hey, I got a friend, could you help them and stuff like that. So it's just challenges, as well as helping other people with their challenges. A little interesting tidbit. I got into this business. I actually had an undergraduate degree in medical computer science. And the reason was I was kind of a math geek and I never knew what I wanted to do with it. But the fact that it was medical said that, okay, I'd be doing something, that would be helpful, to people and things like that. So that's kind of what got me into it.
excellent. I relate to that too. Solving challenges and helping others too. That's I 100% that's very much my same DNA. So really appreciate all the sharing of what you do and your insights. How can people reach out to you that want to find out about your technology?
Sure. You can call us at 239-842-8224. We answer our phone. We're live people. You can email me at barbara@efraudservices.com. I'm on LinkedIn. And our website, efraudservices.com.
Fantastic. Well, thanks so much for this. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Stephen.